Hey there. Today, we are diving into something that, let's be honest, we all deal with, especially when you're trying to juggle school, work, and everything else, stress. We're going to break down Chapter 12, but not like a dry textbook reading. Nope, we're turning those concepts into real, practical tools you can start using, like today. Ready? Let's do this.
Okay, let's just start with a number that'll probably make you sit up a little straighter. 83%. That's how many workers suffer from work-related stress. And look, this isn't just, oh, I had a tough day. We're talking about a serious drain on our health, on our happiness, and yeah, on how well we can actually do our jobs. So how are we going to tackle this beast? Well, we've got a simple plan. First up, we'll figure out what stress actually is, and spoiler alert, it's not all bad. Then we're going to play detective and find out where it comes from. After that, we'll learn to read the warning signs our bodies are sending us. And finally, the best part, we'll build your very own action toolkit to manage it all.
All right, first things first. What even is stress? It sounds like a simple question, but the answer is actually a lot more interesting than you might think.
You know, we tend to think of stress as this one big bad thing, but it's really more like a coin with two sides. On one side, you've got distress. That's the one we all know and hate, the negative, pull your hair out kind that leads straight to burnout. But flip the coin and you've got eustress. That's the good stress. It's that little jolt of energy that helps you focus, that pushes you to nail that presentation or crush that final exam. So the goal isn't to get rid of stress completely. That's impossible. It's about learning to handle the bad stuff and use the good stuff to our advantage.
And just to give you a sense of where we're at as a society, the American Psychological Association actually tracks this. On a scale of 1 to 10, the average adult reports a stress level of 5.4. But then you look at parents, that number jumps all the way up to 6.7. It's a really clear picture of how adding major responsibilities can crank up that stress dial.
Okay, so now we know what stress is and that there's good and bad kinds. But the big question is, where is it all coming from? Let's start digging into the triggers.
Well, no surprise here, a huge one is work, or school for that matter. I mean, just think about it for a second. You've got these massive workloads, deadlines that feel totally impossible, maybe a boss or a professor who isn't clear about what they want, or maybe you're just not happy where you are. And then you add stuff like worrying about your job security or dealing with office drama. It's like your body is stuck in high alert mode.
And if you're in customer service, whew, that's a whole nother level of pressure. It's actually one of the most stressful jobs out there. You're on the front lines dealing with that constant I want it now vibe. And on top of it all, you have to put on a happy face even if you're having the worst day. That constant effort to hide your real feelings, it's called emotional labor, and it is absolutely exhausting.
But stress isn't just about the tasks you're doing. A lot of it comes from your environment. You know, like dealing with that one coworker who just drives you up the wall. Or even just physical stuff like a super noisy office or terrible lighting that gives you a headache. And don't forget the big picture stuff. When a company goes through a big change, like a merger, the uncertainty alone can be a massive source of stress for everyone.
And sometimes this stress is just baked right into the job description. Ever had a boss who sets these totally unrealistic goals for you? Or, and this is a classic, you know exactly how to solve a customer's problem, but you don't have the authority to actually do it. It's so frustrating, right? That feeling of being powerless is a major stress trigger.
Of course, we're not robots. We don't just leave our personal lives at the door when we show up for work or class. Problems at home, worrying about money, or just that feeling that you have zero time for yourself, all of that stuff comes with you, and it all adds to that overall stress bucket. All right. So we've pinpointed a ton of potential causes. Now let's switch gears. How can you tell when your stress is tipping from manageable to out of control? Your body and your mind are constantly sending you signals. We just need to learn how to listen.
So, as we go through these next couple of slides, I want you to do a quick mental check-in. Just ask yourself, hey, do any of these sound familiar? Seriously, just being aware of this stuff is half the battle.
Let's start with the physical stuff, because stress can really mess with your body. We're not just talking about being tired. We're talking about that deep fatigue where even a full night's sleep doesn't help. Or maybe it's stomach problems, a heart that feels like it's racing for no reason, or those nagging headaches and neck pain. This isn't imaginary. It's your body's very real reaction to being overwhelmed.
And it's not just about aches and pains. Think about your behavior. Are you snapping at people more? Feeling irritable all the time? And mentally, maybe you just can't focus, or you're feeling down and unappreciated? Even little things, like suddenly being late all the time or picking up a nervous habit, can be a major red flag that your stress is bubbling over.
This brings us to a really interesting one, workaholism.
Just take a look at these questions on the screen. Do you get in early and stay late pretty much every day? Do you work through lunch? Is it almost impossible to switch off even when you're supposed to be on vacation? If you're sitting there nodding yes, yes, and yes, that could be a sign that your work-life balance is out of whack, and you might be piling on a whole lot of extra stress yourself. Okay, that was a lot about the problem, I know. But now for the good part. Let's talk solutions. This is where we build your action toolkit, real strategies you can use to start taking back control.
That feeling of never enough time is a classic stress inducer. So the first tool in our kit is time management. It's about you managing your time, not the other way around. Find a system, any system that works for you. A great trick is to eat the frog. Do your hardest task first thing in the morning. It builds amazing momentum. Got a huge project? Break it down into tiny, manageable chunks, and be ruthless about prioritizing your to-do list.
Here's one you might not think of right away. Communication. The way you talk to people can either pour gasoline on a fire or put it out before it even starts. It's the simple stuff, really. Be polite, treat people with respect, and when things got tense, speak confidently, but not aggressively. A really powerful tool is using I statements. Instead of saying, "You're not being clear," try, "I'm having trouble understanding." It completely changes the dynamic.
You know that saying, "you can't pour from an empty cup"? It is 100% true. Taking care of yourself is not a luxury, it's a necessity. And I mean really taking care of yourself. Take actual breaks where you get up and walk away from your desk. Put exercise on your calendar like it's a critical meeting. And for goodness sake, find a hobby that has zero to do with work or school. You need that mental reset button. And let's talk about the voice inside your head. It has so much power. Just this one simple phrase, "I can handle this." Say it to yourself when you feel that panic start to rise. It's a tiny bit of positive self-talk that can instantly shift your brain from "I'm overwhelmed" to "I am capable." It sounds small, but trust me, the impact is huge.
You know how sometimes you just feel stuck, like you're on a hamster wheel? That feeling contributes to burnout. So a great little trick is to just shake things up. We're talking super simple stuff. Drive a different way to work, listen to a podcast instead of your usual music, eat something new for breakfast. These tiny little changes break that monotony and can give your brain a much-needed refresh. Okay, we've talked a lot about managing everyday stress, but we do need to touch on something more serious. It's important to know how to recognize when stress goes from being a personal problem to an extreme issue. In some rare situations, when distress goes unmanaged, it can create an unsafe environment, and being aware of this is really just about keeping everyone safe. The material points to a few patterns to be aware of that could suggest someone is in extreme distress. Things like constantly blaming everyone else for their problems, being unable to handle any kind of criticism, or suddenly withdrawing from coworkers and friends, or maybe a really big change in how they act or look. Now, the goal here is absolutely not about pointing fingers or labeling people. It's about awareness. Recognizing these signs might mean someone is really struggling and needs help, and that's all part of creating a safe, supportive place for everybody.
Wow. Okay, we have covered a ton of ground today. What stress is, where it comes from, the warning signs, and a whole toolkit of solutions. But listening to this is one thing, doing something is another. So I want to leave you with a final question. Don't think about trying 10 new things at once. Just ask yourself this. What is the one thing, the one single thing, that if you changed it this week would make the biggest difference in your stress level? Find that one thing. And just start there.